Hi guys, this is Gerald from JGP Designs, and I want to show you guys a quick update on some of the things that we've been working on, including our IO box and some features and some questions that we typically get often. So a couple of things is that I just want to show you guys all our IO boxes are actually conformal coded. They use an IP67 USB cable and of course the super seal type connector, so they're pretty resilient against the elements. Not only that, the box that this is actually inside is a nylon box, which is typically resilient against like abrasion and other things like that. Second part of this too is that the connector that we ship out with everybody, you'll see is full of these plugs right here. It's kind of important just because the plugs themselves prevent water ingress from going through the plug onto the face side and then shorting out some of these pins. And that's useful, because if the whole point of the super seal is to have the pins being able to be sealed against the elements. Of course, our connectors are all sealed. And one other important aspect that I also want to bring up is the fact that our connectors for the Gen 2 cards are also fully sealed, so they all have their seals. That's kind of important because the way these connectors go in, and it's in the area in the tire well area with your over fender, not the over fender, the fender liner. And these only have 4 wires going from one cable to the other, but on one of these cables there's actually 2 cables that are very thick and carry a lot of current that go to ground of the car, and then the other one is a constant power that I believe goes to the AM2 fuse. And it might not seem like it, but that's kind of important because if for some reason, let's say for example, your fender liner ever gets ripped out and you're driving in the rain, the area where these are at are going to get directly splashed with water, basically. So to prevent water from ever going into the inside of the connectors, what could happen is water goes in, then there's a pool of water inside, and it could short out grounds, it could short out your cables in there, cause havoc in the system, and worst case it could pop the AM2 fuse and you might be left stranded, if anything. So we think that's important, and that's part of kind of our construction for our flex fuel kits. The next thing that we have here is for safety in regards to the basically the IO pins, the power pins, the ground pins on everything. All the power coming out of this box for, like, for example, sensors or the flex fuel, so the 5 volt rail, the 12 volt rail, and even the analog pins themselves are all protected. TVS protected, which means for static high discharge, that's all protected. If for some reason the power for the 5 volt rail shorts out to ground, the box can realize that, shut it down. There's no problems with it. It'll save itself. Same goes with the 12 volt rail that would typically go for the flex fuel sensor. And all these protections are great, and it also has diagnostics, so it'll let the user know if there's an issue or what exactly is going on with it. And as soon as you remove the short, it'll go back to normal operating process, and it'll go back to normal. Couple of things too is that we haven't added yet to the firmware, but all the IO pins on any of the boxes that we've shipped out since I believe the last 8 or 10 months have an output, low side switching output that's capable of, I think, 300 milliamps, which is capable of driving like a relay, which we haven't had a use for it just yet, but we will in the near future if you need to control a relay to do certain things. And because we have CAN bus enabled, we will start adding features along with this. And of course, because it has a USB port, we'll have firmware updatable, basically firmware updatable software for it. One of the questions we typically get is why not Wi-Fi built in? The main reason why we don't have Wi-Fi built in is because getting these certified with the FCC would require us with Wi-Fi to get a full Wi-Fi license, and that typically goes up to 15 to 20 grand. And so when we have the more basic SDOA, it allows us to send this out to a lab, get these tested, and it's a lot more of a simple process, so we don't have to deal with the whole Wi-Fi spectrum issue. So yeah, and then you just add a typical, let's say for example, like an OBD link. These are Wi-Fi certified, so kind of saving saving ourselves the development costs and also get a better product sometimes. Next thing that we have on the list is for future stuff. So currently, all our I boxes, like I said, have the low side switching, but in our future IO boxes, we will label Pro, and the reason why it'll be Pro is because there will be an additional high side switching for the last two pins on the IO ports. These high side switching will be capable, I believe, are 1 to 2 amps, depending on the situation, and that's important because we plan to add boost control solenoids and other types of solenoids in the future for it. That'll be important. At the moment, I believe Ecutech is still in beta. They don't have boost control via CAN bus, but we will have it in hardware so that whenever they update their software for it, we'll have it available to you guys as a firmware update to these boxes. There's no external thing needed. Power and the ground pins are going to be located there, so you guys can easily add these boost solenoids into these boxes pretty easily in the near future. But of course, this is only going to be for the Pro boxes. It'll be the same. We're just updating the hardware itself, and all the firmware is going to be backwards compatible with the older boxes, but just of course just not that specific feature. But everything else will still be there available for you guys. A couple of things too in for the future. Gen 2 cars, Gen 2 cars for the IO box actually has a special feature where we can pipe data through the gateway module. So and this is specifically for guys that race and you guys want to data log. That'll still be available for both Flex Fuel if you get the Flex Fuel kit, and also just the IO box by itself. You can use this feature on both of these things. This feature allows us to pipe the data through the gateway, and all you have to do is just connect a data logger onto your OEM OBD2 port. Originally, we did find a bug under Race Chrono that prevented using us the factory OBD2 port because of some issue when it comes to like CAN protocol, but we've since fixed that. The file itself with the fix is available on our website. You can go ahead and download it, test it out on your OBD2 port, on your factory OBD2 port, and it should be good to go. If you have our add-on harness for CAN, you can take that off if you want, or you can leave it on. It's up to you. But yeah, that allows us to data log outside. So you can just set it up with your AEM, your race chrono with the OBD2 links. And for the Gen 1 cars, this kit will still work exactly the same. We will just, of course, have the appropriate cable that goes to the car itself and to the right connectors and allows us to connect to the CAN bus. Currently, Ecutech doesn't have support for CAN-based Flex Fuel, but I believe they're adding it shortly, and they might drop it at the same time as they're dropping the beta, and they're going into like basically full retail for the Gen 2 cars. So we expect that update to be hopefully somewhere in the near future, but we have no exact idea or no exact date to it. But for those who ordered our kits for the Gen 1 cars, for example, logging your oil pressure, all that is still available. And in the future, if Flex Fuel gets added, all you have to do is just add the cable for the Flex Fuel and a Flex Fuel sensor itself, and it'll work just fine. And we'll have both kits available, and we're just basically playing the waiting game when it comes to Ecutech to adding support. I believe they will also add boost control support via CAN bus, but don't quote me on that. I'm just that's what I'm think they're gonna do, because they are removing the use of the CPC solenoid in firmware, using the CPC solenoid for to control boost. But yeah, other than that, most of these things are, like I said, pretty simple. We'll have also a new type of sensor for oil pressure. We'll have currently what we have is in AutoX, I believe, sensor, which goes on the top of the oil galley with a little adapter that we include. But we'll have a dedicated sensor that's from an actual OEM. I don't believe I can disclose it just yet, but we'll disclose it very soon. This is threaded in BSPT, I believe, and that means it'll go straight to the same location where the OEM dummy switch sensor would go to. That means you don't need an adapter, you don't need anything. It's OEM quality, and you just screw it in the same location and just plug in, and we'll have the harness, of course, available for that too. The dummy light, we're not exactly sure what we're going to do with it. We might have, of course, an extra pin because we have low set switching outputs on these boxes to connect the dummy light. We yet to determine if we're going to do that or not, because on Gen 1 cars, the dummy light really doesn't really do anything other than notify the cluster that the light is on or not. But on Gen 2 cars, I believe the low oil pressure light actually does get logged. So I've seen some boxes out there, that control it, and the only issue with that is that if for some reason you're logging and you're doing, hard left turns or right turns, right turns, and you set it so that it goes from half pressure to full pressure, and that causes an oil light to come on, that actually will get logged. And we just don't know whether we want to set the threshold to what the factory one is, which is anything above 5 psi, turn on the light, because if you change that, what happens is that you'll see it, and we don't want to go through the whole hassle of having to explain that the oil light got repurposed for a different threshold of pressure versus just the standard 5 psi pressure that would typically would close at, and that's going to cause warranty issues, and we want to avoid that. So we're thinking of either setting it to factory or not connecting it whatsoever. So if you don't connect it whatsoever, at least you don't get that issue. So yeah, that's just a couple of updates. We'll have more updates in regards to other projects that we have going on. For example, we just finished up the sending on most of the Gen 1 seat sims that we have for the cars. When you replace your seat, you want to keep your factory airbags working, because if you replace your passenger seat, there's an occupancy sensor, and now we have them available for a variety of different cars, including the Gen 1 FRS BRZ GT86. So yeah, thank you guys.